Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are back. This is episode. What is this? Tax is episode 10.
10.
Okay,
Yes.
and what you're seeing is not a clone. Stacks is back. What you're seeing
Yes.
is not a damn clone. Stacks is back. Before we get
Yes.
started, Stacks, where you been?
I have been busy packing and relocating. So I am in Florida now.
She has relocated to Florida, man. So Stacks is here. She's unpacked and doing her thing. So let's get started. We are glad to have Stacks back. We are glad to have the team back. And as you see, we got two guests. But before we get to our guests, Stacks, do what the damn thing you do.
All right. Our sponsors is Transition Fitness 1150, Body Embrace LLC, Pastrino Delights, Black Wall Street Online LLC, Davis Deliveries.
Yo, I'm glad to have you back, man. Because I hated
Thank
reading
you.
the damn sponsors, man.
You did good though. I said he left out a few, but you still did good. I was still supporting and watching, so you did good.
Yeah.
Thank
that was
you.
A lot on my, that was a lot on my damn shoulders. Listen, good people, man, we are glad to have our 10th episode going on, and we have two of our guests here. And let me tell you something. These two people I know well. They're good people, so let me introduce my man, one of my clients for almost 15 years, a good friend of mine. E-Double, what's up?
What's going on, everyone?
Hey.
And down in the corner is my little sis. Her twin was supposed to be on. Kiki, what's up? You waiting
Hi,
for
you
to say-
guys. Nice to meet you all.
That's it, yeah.
Hi.
Hello.
What's up? Hey, listen, our story and our show today is going to be a good one. The show today is going to be about people who were raised in the 80s and 90s opposed to those who were raised in the early 2000s to the present. And so we got different age groups on this podcast right now. So you got difference of opinion. You got people who grew up in certain places that can speak on it, and we can have a good, solid debate about music, technology, movies, childhood, fashion. Am I missing anything, Stacks?
Food.
And food.
Yes.
So we gonna get into it because I know a lot of people have these kind of conversations just off, whether it's in the office or whether at home or they're just a general conversation. So we're gonna bring it to the forefront and we're gonna talk about it. It's the 80s and 90s versus the early 2000s and the present. Let's get moving, Stacks. How we gonna start it off? What we gonna start it off with?
Oh Lord, this is a good one. Should we start off with cartoons and movies first?
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Let's do it. So, I don't know, Dre. You got me beat by a couple years. So, do you want to start off like with your cartoons? But we was probably watching the same stuff. So, you want to start off with the cartoons and movies? So, what you remember? What was good back then? Back in the 80s?
Well, I know back in the 80s there was the Justice League Super Friends, Scooby Damn Doo, He-Man,
Yes.
Speed Racer. I know I'm missing somebody. Those are the cartoons that I used to get up early on Saturday morning, and just my mom would make me and my brother breakfast, and we would go downstairs in the basement while she cooking breakfast. She would call us up, and those were the cartoons that we would watch consistently, man. I enjoyed those cartoons. I remember the Super Friends. I remember Batman, Robin, all that. It was a great time. It was a non-worry time. It just was great
Yes.
watching cartoons. You know what I'm saying? What about you?
It sure was. Mine was He-Man, She-Ra, Wonder Woman, Fat Albert, Smurf.
Oh my God! Damn.
Yep. So similar to you. And then don't forget about the Transformers, because, back then and it looked all good like it do now. Alvin and the Chipmunks and all of that. So, yep.
Damn. And E, tell us what you used to watch growing up, man.
It's weird because we probably crossed in the same time frame because of course I was watching Alvin and the Chipmunks, Transformers, Smurfs.
Wow.
Yeah, and then we had other things like Tailspin. Man, I can't even think of some of the ones. We had Heathcliff.
I remember that.
Yeah, it was a lot
Sesame
of other
Street.
ones,
Look,
man.
I forgot about Sesame Street and all of them. They made us watch that in school. And Reading Rainbow.
Yeah,
We used to watch Lamb Chops too, Reading Rainbow. Can't think of too many, but yeah, it like just like you said, it was at a good time, real good time.
Yep.
Key, what did you used to watch? What y'all watch, man? Key's like she's the youngest one on here. So at 30 years old, what was you watching as a kid?
I feel like a baby. I feel like a baby because I watched Clifford the Big Red Dog,
Wow, I remember that.
Barney, Dragon Tales.
I don't know shit about that.
Like, I watched the Magic School Bus. I feel like a little baby. You don't know about that? You gotta watch it. It's on Netflix. Oh, and I
Yeah.
can't forget Recess.
Oh yeah, Recess is one.
Wow, I don't know nothing about that. So let me
Yeah.
let me ask y'all this, man. Since there's all different ages on here, okay? So me and Stacks are on the 80s and 90s.
Yep.
E and Key is on the latter part of, E's on the latter part of the 90s and going into the 2000s, and Key's early, you two early 2000s, Key? Key, what
Yes.
you early two? Okay. So let me ask you this.
Yes, because I was born in 92.
What year was it? As we have in
I said I was born in 1992.
Jesus,
Okay.
man.
So
I
she's
was-
part
I
of the
was-
90s. Yep.
Okay, so let me ask you that. What do you think about that time? When you think about the time that you were a kid watching cartoons, what was the outside elements of what was going on outside? Was it a fun time? Because when I think about that time that I was watching cartoons, I think that was a fun time, having my mom cook breakfast, or we're going outside to play, ride our bikes, do whatever, going to camp, whatever that was. So when I think about that time with cartoons and what I was watching, I think it was just so fun. It was no drama. It was no problems. There was no nothing. It just had a fun time. So when you think about the time you was watching cartoons, what does it make you feel like, opposed to how you think now? Anybody chime in on that question.
Well, if I can interject, I can say for myself that feeling is a little different from now. One reason being is now that we're older, we have responsibilities. So back then, the plan was to wake up in the morning, get breakfast, and watch cartoons.
Yeah.
So, and we weren't too busy. I wasn't too concerned with the outside world. I was like centered on myself as a kid, because to be honest, as a kid, you're not really about the outside world. You're only about what's going on in front of you. So that feeling is a little different from now. The difference is now is that we wake up and we have things to take care of. We have responsibilities. So it's not free anymore, and you're not free to do whatever you want. I mean, you are, but there's consequences to your decisions that you make. So I would love to go back to that time, because these responsibilities, as much as they are, it can be tough sometimes, man.
Stacks, what you think when you think about that time?
I mean, like E was saying about back then, you didn't have a care of the world. You going to school, and then you looking forward to the weekend. You waking up early on Saturday. You watching all your cartoons, and you playing your old school. Well, for me, it was Atari. Excuse me. So you playing your Atari, or you going outside and double dutching, playing hide and seek, or riding your bike, and just all that stuff, fun stuff and everything. I didn't have a care in the world back then, so we didn't have to worry as much.
Yeah, that was a big thing. Key, what was some of the things that when you think about when you was watching cartoons, what did it take? Where did it take you back to? What did you feel? What was the element outside and inside?
Well, I enjoy watching TV because I grew up in the hood. So we had to stay in the house all the time. So to watch cartoon made me feel like a kid. Like, okay, mom is out working, so this the least I can do is watch TV and do my homework. But when you went outside, you kind of seen that it's not you're not supposed to be a kid type of thing. You have to grow up really fast. So the cartoons definitely brought me back to childhood that normal kids have.
Wow. So, do you think what you think is better now? You think between that time of growing up, watching cartoons in our era, like I didn't have a care in the world, and I think we all, but some kids have more situations to care about. They can't be kids, but I was able to. Me and my brother were able to be kids. So when I listen to that and I go back to that time, I'm happy, man. Like I'm truly happy at that time and that nostalgic way of looking at stuff. So if you really had to gauge, do you think that Key during the time that you were growing up, do you think it was worse than when we had it as we was growing up, or you think y'all had it better than the people that grew up in the 90s and 80s?
Well, listening to everybody's response, I think your time and era was better. Maybe because you guys' mom was old school and kids actually got whoopings and responsibility and they knew how to act, opposed to having these new parents that don't believe in whoopings because they hated getting whooped. So yeah, I think y'all's was better. The music was better. The food was better. It was soul cooking instead of McDonald's and Wendy's all day, every day. So it's just different.
What you think, E? When you reflect back to, do you think it was better during your time, or do you think it was better during when you look back in the 80s and 90s? Do you think you know that time when in that era during cartoons when you reflect, or do you think during your time when you was watching cartoons, hey man, we had a little bit better than y'all in the 80s and 90s?
Well, obviously my years, I guess, were the 90s. 90s was cool, man. I enjoyed it. I mean, it felt like, without all the social stuff. But in the 90s, it was fun. Like what Keith said, yeah, when you go outside, you have to figure things out and grow up a little faster. For myself, when I went outside around those times, I grew up in the hood too, hood-ish. So going outside, you're either going to have fun or you're going to be faced with things that you didn't expect. For myself, I had guns pulled on me a couple of times as a kid. So sometimes inside was the best option for me.
Yeah.
But as a kid, you want to go outside. But as much as it was, I enjoyed it. It's crazy, but I enjoyed that life and stuff like that I miss. And growing up that time, I would say it was a little better, me personally.
Stacks, what you think?
I agree too, and I'm also grew up in the hood and stuff like that too. So back in the 80s and stuff, we knew what areas not to go to and stuff like that because, I mean, my mom and them didn't play, and then back then we had the neighborhood moms too. So if your mom and them wasn't at home, they was at work, we had the neighborhood moms making sure they watching out for us to make sure we know we ain't supposed to go way across the street somewhere or down the alley somewhere, because they all came together and made sure they watched after each other kids and stuff like that, So, but again, we were outside, no care in the world and in our own zone and playing and stuff like that too. But yeah, I mean, we had to watch out for, certain things and stuff like that was going on in the neighborhood. So.
But the interesting thing that you guys have said. Oh, go ahead, E.
I was gonna say what she said was that's a big difference that I don't see now that it was happening back in the 90s and 80s, is that everybody was together.
Yeah.
Like, you didn't have to be my family to watch over my kid, just like you said, you had a neighborhood mom. So back then, we had neighborhood mothers too, but nowadays it's like everybody's just taking care of their own and not even worrying about the next person.
Yep.
So I think y'all both are right, but I think also it's like, yo, during that time, it was a village. During that time of everybody who grew up in there, it was a village, right? Yo, and you think about, there were more people having picnics.
Yep.
There were more like youth programs. Yo, I never see nobody outside, man. I never see no kids outside. When I went back home last year, and I went to visit my dad, me and my girl. Yo, wasn't not one kid outside playing. Wasn't no kids outside playing. And when you think about that, that's sad. It's like, oh, what? There's no environment noise of the kids outside playing. There's nobody doing any grilling. There's nobody just having fun outside. These kids now, this generation now, this is my opinion. This generation now, they're inside. The technology, it keeps them inside. They're not social relatable to other kids, because they keep themselves solitude from the outside. And the thing is that we all just said, and E said, and Key said, and Stack said, there was the village that was around us that kept us sheltered. If you did something up the street, Mrs. Johnson or whoever it was going to get at you and then tell your mother, and then your mother get at you. That don't exist now in this era, because if you put your hands on somebody else's kid, something's going to happen, and it won't be for the benefit of the individual who did it, man. You dig what I'm saying? So that's the one thing. So I chalk that one up for me and our era, Stack, that, we as we grew up as kids, we had, a bubble around us that protected us from, getting into trouble or doing things that we wasn't supposed to. We had a watchful eye. You know what I used to see all the time? You know what I see all the time? You never see no more? Is a neighborhood watch sign that was always up in certain neighborhoods. They had the neighborhood watch. You right. You get what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? So that don't exist. So
do you remember that commercial, Dre? Do you remember this commercial when they come on at 11 o'clock? It's 11 o'clock. Do you know where your children are? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Wow.
They don't say that no more.
Because nobody gives a damn. Nobody gives a damn. That's
that one.
So let's move on to the next one. What's the next one, Stacks? What are we going to talk about?
Movies. Let's get into the movies. Oh my goodness. I know for me back in the 80s, I'm going to speak about the 80s and then I'll do the 90s because both of them was good. So I think for me, it was Lean on Me, Colors, Purple Rain, Boys in the Hood, Higher Learning, and all of that. It was some good movies back then. Then all the scary movies, because back then I thought Halloween and all that stuff was scary growing up in Freddy Krueger.
Yeah.
So all that stuff was scary for me. Yeah, we had some good movies back in the 80s and 90s, and it just seemed like they don't make those good movies anymore. They started to maybe in the early 2000s, but man, the movies ain't the same.
What you think about the movies, Key?
I think that the movies is more entertaining. I don't know, because when I was younger, it took me a while to get into The Color Purple and A Time to Kill, and my dad used to watch Roots, the whole videotape VCR back in the days when I first was born. But we don't got no VCRs no more, no DVDs.
Right.
So yeah, they had tapes up until 3 years ago. So not to have to play the movies in the DVD, we can watch it right on Netflix. I think that's better.
Yeah, I can agree though. The technology though for the movies nowadays are a lot better, like how they look and everything, and the sound effects and everything. Now I will agree on that.
What you think, E? What you think?
Yeah, because it's all with the resolution that makes you want to get in.
Yeah.
For me, I love the 80s and 90s movies. I was a Brat Pack person, so I watched most of the Brat Pack movies. Weird Science, Breakfast
Oh
Club,
Wow.
and
What the hell you know about Weird Science, E? What the hell you know about that? That's
Come on,
crazy.
man. Those are my movies. I enjoy those type of movies. Of course, you have Higher Learning was one. But the difference is with the movies now, I mean, I would personally say the movies now, the quality and all that, the technology made it a lot better. Because if you go back to watch those old movies, you're gonna be like, whoa, look at this. Like the first Aliens, if you watch that movie, if you go back, it's like it looks like a paper cutout, the aliens. It just doesn't look right. So, the technology, it's a little better. But the movies back then had like, I would say it had a form of essence, something like a meaning behind it, like a reasoning why this movie was put out, instead of it just being all action and all blood and guts, where some of it is right now. Not all of it, but where some of it is getting to right now.
Right.
Well, you know what? That's crazy. Movies, what I see now, yeah, of course, the resolution and the technology is grade A. But the thing that movies don't do that they did for us back then, they brought us together. I don't know, like, I remember going to see Jaws and E.T. with my brother and my mother at the drive-in. And as soon as I say that, I remember what my mother, she had the hatchback up. She had the popcorn popped in the bag. For me and my brother, you could see the grease on the goddamn bag. You could see all that. We watching E.T., we watching Jaws, and that was like us. We was a family when we was doing that. You know what I'm saying? All these movies like Star Wars was crazy for us. That was insane to see what we were seeing. That was an addictive movie to even be watching that, watching robots move and talk. You know what I'm saying? That was important, but we did it as a unit. Now, if you see a movie, you see a movie. There are a lot of great movies, but how many people actually go to the movies as a family and sit there as a family or as a family at home and watch these movies? And they're not, these movies, back then, these movies wasn't trying to put across their own agenda. Now these movies are putting across their own agenda, if you can read between the lines. So it was like, hey, these movies are put out to have fun, entertainment, and you're right. Shit, because Freddy Krueger had me messed up.
Look, okay.
you get what I'm saying? And every time I see a red door on somebody's house, that's the house that Freddy Krueger was in. So, just overall.
That is so funny because
Go ahead, Keith.
Oh, I said that was so funny because my mom, she's near 60 years old. So she still made me come down to Miami to go see a movie. Like, I just went to go see Scream with them. I had to travel 3 hours because she's like, oh, yeah, we're doing this. So come down. I was like, oh, wow, that's crazy. So it's funny that you mentioned going with a family because, I guess because that's why we still do it. But I wonder if all of the elders pass, will we still instill into our children, hey, you still have to go as a family? I don't know if that's something that will happen.
Right.
I don't know, because as much as I used to go to the movies, I never seen a family. Like, I've never seen that. I don't see too many families coming out, whether it's the children, the mother, the father, or even if it's just the father and his kids. I don't see that, man. So these movies are not, and then certain movies you can't see. A lot of movies back then, they had horror flicks, but man, you watched them with your mother. Like, there's a ton of movies that I watch with my mom and my brother and my friends and whatever. But now, individually, collectively, we don't watch movies together. And like I said before, the state of the art things are in movies and the clearness of the movies are there. But overall, does the movie bring us together?
Right.
So, that's just how I feel. I think that is very important when, sitting down as a family. And that's one thing we did, man. That don't exist. That don't exist right now. Somebody, if you could have 5 different people in the house. Somebody watching something upstairs, downstairs, somebody watching this. They're never watching it collectively. But again, I just felt like even though the movies was up and coming for us, they brought us together. That's just my opinion.
And let's go on to music. So that's another thing. 'Cause music, to me, because the 80s and the 90s, I'm sorry, that is my music right there. So when you talk about bring together, when I think about the music and stuff, I think about the family get-togethers, the cookouts and stuff. I come from a huge family. So on my mom's side, it was 17 of them. You know, so I come from a huge family. We'll get together just to get together. It didn't have to be a holiday or nothing. We'll get together. We doing a Soul Train line and we dancing, you know, playing games and stuff. And we all just came together with music. And the music, the good music back in the day, you know, Betty White, Stu, Marvin Gaye, and all of them. Even well, I wasn't allowed to listen to rap music growing up, so but
Really?
I still snuck and listened to it. Yeah, not that cussing and stuff. Like my stepfather didn't play that. He was like, "You better not be listening to that NWA and this and this and that," because they was cussing and stuff. But other than that, it's just that feel good music back then. Like I said, it was the Levert, Whitney, Michael, Karen White, and Sade, and Diana Ross. And you know, all of them, the Isley Brothers, Patti LaBelle, and you know when somebody mad at in a family or somebody, they got the blues playing in the background and stuff like, yo, what's going on? Or they got something on repeat, you know. So, and like I said, back then we used to watch Soul Train. I used to get up on the weekends to be ready to watch that Soul Train.
That was on a Saturday. What was it? Saturday? What the Soul Train used to come on?
Yep.
Yeah, that used to be the Soul Train line. That was crazy. You brought
Yeah, but I snuck and listened to rap. I love me some MC Light and Queen Latifah all back then, Money Love and all them back in the day. I sure did snuck. I used to listen to all of that. So, what about you, Dre? Because like I said, you got me about a few years. So,
I'm gonna let the guests get theirs off first before I get mine off.
Okay.
So Key, what do you think the difference in, like, what do you think about the music now and then?
Well, first off, I didn't know Queen Latifah rapped.
Oh, girl, yes, her and MC Light. Yes, okay. You and I see why, girl.
Don't you ever in life, you just lost half your black card. Don't you ever in life tell nobody that ever. You should have kept that to your.
I didn't know.
Yes, she was.
I see her as a
girl back in the 80s.
Wow.
That was Queen Latifah was it. She was her and MC Light, but Queen Latifah, yes.
Did you just say that, man?
It's not my fault. I didn't know because they don't play music at all. I see her on the TV playing in Last Holiday or Beauty Shop or Barber Shop or stuff like that. I didn't know she actually was like a rapper.
And she could sing.
Oh my God, I'm so surprised. But
Wow.
I'm not believing that.
This is insane. Our audience gonna be like,
Wow.
what in the world?
Yeah, they're gonna pick on me later.
It's okay.
They're gonna be like, oh my gosh, she's really young. But the new music I don't like. I don't like listening to because it doesn't feed my heart. Like, I know when I was younger, we used to wake up to old school music, and my dad will never let us listen to anything other than Teddy Pendergrass or Marvin Gaye or Isley Brothers. And like, then on Sundays, of course, we was listening to the old time church music with the lady that sing I Got King Jesus, and just old school church music. This new school church music, it sound good, but it don't give you the Holy Ghost like the old school church music. So that's the difference for me. And like, the music is just more meaningful back in the days. Like, they could say, oh, I'm trying to make love to you, but now they say, oh, I'm trying to F you. Like, from the beat. Like, it's just weird. It's old school make a baby. Old school be like, dang, I want to get rid of it now. Yeah. So, yeah, that's the difference for me.
E, what you think, man? What you think, brother?
For me, old school is always going to be within me. Ever since we were kids, our father used to turn on the radio. You know how when you had to put kids to sleep, So he would put us in the room and turn on the radio. So it was always quiet storm when we were going to sleep. So we would listen to Boys to Men. There's a lot of other ones, man. I can't really name right now, but Casey and JoJo, or Jodeci back then. And I had a lot of female cousins that were a little older than me. So when we would go to their house to visit, they would hijack the radio, and then we listen to TLC and Escape, and I'm sitting here like, oh, I can't take this because I'm a boy, but the music's actually like really good. So even today, I mean, don't get me wrong, the music today is the music today. I would just say this is not for me. It's just a little too much auto-tuning and other stuff. I mean, don't get me wrong, that's your music, but in my radio and up in my car, it's all 90s, early 2000s, and 80s music. Yeah, man, I like the old times, man. This one is just a little too much. Yeah. Just like she's saying, it's like, before, you know, we used to tell you what we want to do in these songs. We see you in the street, we try to finesse you, we try to, you know, get to know you. Music
rub you down
today
with
is
hot
like, we see you
oil.
today. Yeah, we see you today. We trying to get in your pants today. You know, there's no courting, no nothing. We trying to get in your pants and get out. I mean, it's for some people, but for me, I kind of like how it, the courtship, but it feed my soul. It makes me feel the music. You get what I'm saying? Like, I can listen to it.
Makes you feel it. You're yes, you can listen to something and it'll take, I don't know about y'all, but it'll take me back. I'm like, oh, I remember when that's, you know, when I was little, when this song came out. So I'm a New Edition girl all day long. So I'm always going to rock with New Edition. but yeah, so it's just, I don't know if that feel good music that just take you way back and everything. So what about you, Dre?
You know what? I don't think nobody knows this, and I don't even think E knows this. A lot of times, I'm almost like 99.9% of the time when somebody comes in for a haircut, I'm got my headphones on, and people don't notice. I am listening to the 80s music. When I think about music, there's so much that comes to my mind that's nostalgic. Like I'm listening to Phil Collins. I'm listening to The Police. I'm listening to Sting. I'm listening to the SOS Band. I'm listening to Loose Ends. I'm listening to Alexander O'Neal. I'm listening to New Edition. I'm listening to these things because what it does for me, it puts me right back in the place that I was in when I heard that. Even going to visit my grandmother when my dad would take us down to Alabama, he was playing the SOS Band. He was playing Loose Ends. You know, this situation when my mom would wake up when we would have to do our chores in the house. She had an 8-track player. She had a record player. You know, she would play all those songs, and those songs became a fixture of my brain of what I remember. So I'm listening to all that. I'm listening to that. And the thing about music, and a lot of people gonna say, "Oh man, you hating." Nah, it made sense, and the lyrics made sense, and even though they danced around what they really wanted to do with the individual, it was choreographed to the way that it was like, that sounds great. That sounds great. You know what I'm saying? I'll swim the highest ocean or walk 700,000 miles to get to your love or whatever the situation was. But those songs, as soon as I'm playing them, like sometimes when I'm leaving my girl's house on a Monday morning, I play Phil Collins, and everything about Phil Collins, Men at Work, Duran Duran, and people don't understand. Just because you're black, that don't mean you just listen to a certain type of music.
Exactly.
Those songs, Phil Collins to me, In the Air Tonight is one of, to me, the best song ever. I can hear that song over and over again. But those songs were a part of movie soundtracks. Yeah. So I not only correlate those to my upbringing, I correlate those to movies. So they just make me feel good. If I'm feeling a certain way, I'm going to put that on, and it makes me feel good. The music now, man, everybody on drugs, everybody high, everybody killing everybody, everything shoot 'em up, bang bang, everybody's dead. I want to die tonight. This, and that, and the other. And even if some of these things in the songs that we listen to, they was like, hey, you want to do this, or they did drugs. They didn't really vocalize that. This music now has made it cool to do drugs, which is insane to me. It's insane. Of course, you got some good artists, Chris Brown. You got some good artists out here, but not. I say about 85. No, I'm gonna give them this. I'm gonna give you this key. 85% of the music they doing drugs, they killing, or they want to die. So to me, that ain't no. That don't feel good. And the number one song that made everybody feel good and is related to every damn picnic is Frankie Beverly and Maze. Everybody played Frankie Beverly and Maze at an outing, a picnic, a function outside. So those songs had substance, and those songs made you feel a certain way, man. This shit here, I don't know what we playing on the radio. I don't know what's being played. I don't know what's being put into these kids' ears, but it ain't nothing that's of substance. That's just me.
Yeah, my daddy say that's garbage. Don't listen to that garbage. That's
don't get us wrong. We had our bad boys in our era. So,
yeah, we did.
For me, we had which I hate to say it, but East Coast and West Coast. That whole thing with me, that type of music where that magazine put us against another coast for no reason, but it sparked something. So people got killed because of it. We lost Biggie and Pac because of it, and it's just, I wouldn't say we didn't have that too, but it wasn't so publicized as it is right now, because those songs about killing themselves, they're hits now. But back then, they were not hits. They were just something on the download that you listened to, like on a mixtape or something like that, and you just made it locally famous. You get what I'm saying? Now it's like everything is like mainstream now. Now this song is popular about suicide, and like, what is this coming from? Like, come on,
that's crazy. That's crazy, right? To be talking about suicide and everybody's listening to that. So that's a good thing to talk about killing yourself. That's wild, man.
Wow.
So, Key, we lost you, man. We can't see you. We want to see you when we talk to you. So, Stacks, what's the next one? What's the next one?
I'm trying to think. Are we talking about music and all that? Let's hit before we even talk about fashion and food, let's talk about technology. Man, back in the 80s, look, we used to have these long ass extension cords. So for the phone, that extension cord would stretch all the way around the house for this damn phone, the phone and all of that stuff too. My grandmother used to have the one phone where you go like that, you push the number. What's it called? Dre, what was it called? The
rotary phone? Oh
my God. I was like, what in the world? But yeah, we used to have that. I'm like, and it took you forever to, get the number and everything. And don't let nobody call long distance. You got a couple minutes, then you need to hang up because I'm not going to get charged for that. So, back in the 80s, it was those phones, telephone booths. I don't think nobody I ain't even seen no telephone booth since I don't know when. Okay.
Oh my God.
Walkmans.
Yes.
Walkmans.
Go ahead, Key.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just laughing because the last time I seen a telephone booth, I was like, no, I was in elementary school. I haven't seen one since. I see the empty pay booth where the payphone used to be there, but it's nothing there but the material, like the base of it, but it's no phone there. It's nothing there. I haven't seen telephone booths in so long. What about walkie-talkies and two-way pagers and a beeper? My mom had a beeper.
That was in the 90s.
That's the 90s. Like, we had walkie-talkies as the kids. I remember me and my brother having Army walkie-talkies. I think the one thing that technology that kicked off for us was the microwave. The microwave. My mother had got a microwave when I was in the 8th grade. And to have a microwave, you had to have a little bit of bread to have a microwave. They had microwaves. You know what I'm saying? To have a microwave in your crib, yo, that wasn't no low ticket item. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
To have a microwave, a cordless phone with the antenna on that joint. When my mother got the when my mother got the cordless phone, she used to be like, "All right, y'all don't be messing up this phone." But it was a different technology to have a cordless phone that you don't have some big cord connected to the phone, and you can move around the house. You could be outside. Get your ass in here on this goddamn phone. You know what I'm saying? Like that technology in itself, and I think my dad had bought me and my brother. I don't know if y'all remember this company. It was called Commodore 64. It was a computer. That was one of the companies before Apple. It was a Commodore 64 computer base, and TVs were floor model TV. The floor model TV. The floor model. We had four. I think we had a TV in our room. Me and my brother's room. My mother had a TV in her room. Had a TV in the living room. Had a TV downstairs and a TV in the kitchen. So the TVs were just a simple TVs, but everybody had a floor model TV. You had to have a floor model TV in your crib. So, but those were the things that I know that I remember, and I wasn't really on the internet like that. Our computer system was like the screen color was, the words were green. Like it wasn't no over the top. And let me say this one real quick. My mother, I don't know why she refused to buy us the Atari or the Atari 5200 or the, I was on my way out and when Nintendo came out. But all my friends had the Atari 5200, and those games were pretty, they look kind of prehistoric now, but those games that they had, man, was like, that was beginning of technology with those kind of games. So those were the technologies that I understood.
You talking about Mario Brother, Donkey Kong, and shoot, couldn't tell us nothing.
And I had a tabletop version. My mom bought me a tabletop version of Galaga. I don't know if in arcades was the thing. Everybody would go to the arcade. So whatever
Pac-Man.
whatever they had in the arcade, they would make it in a miniature form. You know what I'm saying? I had the Galaga, the tabletop version, and I had the 3D. They had this 3D game where it's a race car game where you're looking into like binoculars and you crash, and then the car parts will come towards your face. So those were the beginning technology that we had. That's what was up.
What about the cable box? Do you remember the cable box? I'm sorry, the cable box, the old school one where you had to click. Did y'all have the cable back there?
Was it long and like is this long?
Yeah, it's like you had to click. You had to click to get to the channels and everything.
Yeah, and then we had the one that had we had the long one like this where you go across the thing.
Yep.
And it had like wood grain on the top. I don't know if yours had the wood grain.
Yep.
and we had the next remote that they gave us was the remote that had numbers on it. And it was like brown. It was probably about this long, about the size of a phone, and it was connected to a cord. And you can be able to put in the channel. That's crazy because it had a cord. All of it had a cord. That's crazy. You just brought me back. Like the remote had a cord to it. And you couldn't go nowhere with it. But it was just like, wow, man. Go ahead, E.
Of course, rotary phone was something that we dealt with back then. Pagers were something big. Which one? This is a big one for us when my mom got a stereo system.
Oh,
the whole with the whole vinyl on the top and the cassette player in the middle and all that other crap that was in the middle that you had to be touching. So that was big for us because of course, I don't know about you guys, but we used to like record music from the radio.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So we would sit by the radio and wait for the song that we want just to hit record, and then just wait it out until the music ended, and then you had to go back and listen to it. So you want to cut it off before the DJ came on.
Right.
So we dealt with that. You guys had the little switch thing for cable box. We just had the regular cable box. But for some odd reason, my mom always knew somebody under the table, so we had the illegal one, so we were able to watch premium channels and also pay-per-view.
Wow.
So let me see, we had pagers. our first computer was, you probably guys probably heard about this, but it was a compact Presario. Those are the ones with the different color backs where you had different colors
Yep.
like green, purple, and all of
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
Mhm.
yeah.
So we had that. And of course, we didn't have high speed. We had dial up. But first,
Yep.
we had the AOL. You know, that little CD they
Yeah.
used to give you in the little mail. Yeah, we would use that first for some, free access for like 2, 3 days. And then,
Yep.
after that, we had to pay for it. So we ain't had no money. So we just went to go get another CD to put it in.
Wow, you just brought me
Yep.
back. Yeah, I forgot about that,
Yeah.
man.
Yep.
Before, Spotify and Apple Play and all that good stuff, we burnt CDs. So
We sure
we
did.
were we were making albums and making mixes. It seemed like back then, growing up too, like everybody burnt CDs that had a computer.
Yeah.
Let me see. Other than that, video games, we grew up. We had a Nintendo, Super
Mhm.
Nintendo, and Sega, and all that good stuff. The Game Boy was really fun back then. So
Yeah.
I enjoyed that too. So
Wow.
technology's changed. Um, Man, I can remember when I had my first cell phone, and I think that was like 2001, and that's
Mm.
before anybody had any cell phones. So those whole pay phones is before anybody had cell phones. So as soon as everybody had cell phones, them things became obsolete.
You know what I
Mhm.
had right before I went into the military? I had a phone in my car, and it was like $1.99 a minute to use. I never used that joint, maybe once or twice. Um, I had a cell phone in '97. That's when they
Mhm.
switched to the minutes. Um,
Yep.
I had a pager when I went into the military as well. So I was cool on that. But damn, you just brought me back with the CD. You had to put in the CD to upload it, like to get like the Microsoft or whatever the situation was, and I'm
AOL.
like, oh
Mhm.
man, and to hear that noise, we had to be connected to the phone. That little noise it makes when it's dialing up, that's
Mhm.
crazy.
And here's another one. I forgot what the name of the magazine is, but whatever magazine you got, if you flip to the end, you can get like 12 CDs for $2 or whatever the case is. So
Yeah.
we used to do
Yep.
that back then too. We used
BMG. It was
to,
like
there
BMG
you go.
music. They used to. Yep.
Wow.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah,
shit.
yeah.
Damn.
What
Mhm.
else? We had the East Bay magazine that we used to,
Yes.
I mean, it's not the technology, but we had that. That was a
Yep.
thing that was it was fun, man. And I used to buy a lot of them CDs. Well, not buy, but get a lot of CDs from BMG.
Yep.
So as y'all notice that Key, something happened with her.
Mhm.
She disappeared. So we're gonna keep it rolling. Key, we hope
Yep.
you can make it back on the platform. So Stacks, what's next on the list? What's next on the list? What else are we
Well, we
talking about?
pretty
Man, y'all
much
bringing me
talked.
back.
I think we pretty much talked about the childhood on how we all felt when growing up with childhood and stuff like that. So that we kind of touch on that with a little bit of the movies and cartoons and all of that. So let's get into food.
Ooh, the dreadful situation.
Yes, getting getting into
You want to
that
start it
food.
off, or you want to start off? E, you want me to start it off, or which one? Who
E,
y'all want to
let's
start?
go with E. Come on,
Yeah,
Edie,
go ahead.
your
E, start it off
food.
about the
You come
food,
on here and
man.
start off about the food.
Okay, so I was probably raised a little different. My mom didn't do too much of the fast foods. It was always home cooked foods. Um, but when we got older, which is I can say it was my fault, but when we got older, we stepped out. When I say we, I mean my brother and I. We stepped
Hmm.
out and we bought fast food because it was fast food.
Yeah,
Back then, it was good food. It was different.
yeah,
Now, fast forward into the future, you can't be sure, really too sure exactly what you're intaking when you're eating out. Um,
right.
for me personally, I haven't tried the Popeyes chicken sandwich. I think I'm good for the rest of my life, not ever trying that.
Right.
Um, but in my journey now, I, I, I don't do fast food. I try to eat cleaner. Like that was one thing that back then that wasn't so publicized. It's eating clean or eating healthy. Back then, it was more so, which is a good thing, you know, soul food, this food, you know, eat the hearty stuff. The hearty stuff is like the greasy stuff. So even when we go to picnics, when I go to picnics, we'll grub out, we'll eat because it's available, it's food. When I'm with family, I eat, but when I'm home and in my own circle, I try to eat right. So back then, I would say the food back then, as good as it was, we weren't educated on what it can do to us in the future.
Exactly.
So now we have more of now that more people are cognizant of their health, we have more options now than we had back then for eating healthy instead of just eating how we used to eat. That makes sense.
Yeah. Stacks?
It makes sense. Our first episode, Dre and I we touched on the food and stuff, and we talked about the difference of growing up, what we had to eat growing up versus what we have an option, what we need to do now. And so you're right. So back then, growing up where I grew up, it's like you got to eat what's made or you're not going to eat at all. You better sit at this table, you're going to eat this food or you're not going to eat at all. So we didn't have like the choices of, I think, back then McDonald's was around then, White Castles was around then, and back then, you know, all the little pizza places and stuff, but we didn't have the luxuries of going out and eating out. We had to eat what we needed to eat at the house, or you're not going to eat. You know what I'm saying? So, and I think when I became a teenager is when, you know, fast foods and stuff and all that were, I'm working, I'm going to, you know, buy whatever. And then, like you said, now you have a choice of eating clean and stuff like that. We didn't know about all the health conditions and, you know, all of that stuff of what the food back then was, you know, doing with all that grease and all. I ain't gonna even talk about all that because we already did that the first episode. But so you have an option now to eat clean. You have a choice. You have a choice now. So
I think for me, when I think back when I was eating that food, like I enjoyed it. Like when the Dukes of Hazzard would come on, or you know, I'm watching something down like that's on Friday or Saturday. My mother's cooking fried fish, or she made hamburgers. The food itself wasn't tampered with. You know what I'm saying? It's not. It wasn't. They wasn't figuring out how to tamper with food and how to mass produce food. So everything that we ate was just good, man. My mother making Sunday dinners and cooking carrots with a casserole, or, you know, eating pork chops or corn and all the things that she eating, hot dogs. Like I ain't gonna lie to you. When I think about that, I miss that. But I know that I can never, ever go back to that situation again because the food has been altered to the point where it's like, it's so dangerous. The food is so dangerous, and these kids nowadays, this generation don't understand. The food is so dangerous that to even eat it is like, man, you know, they're doing all types of things to food. But for us, even back in the day, to go to McDonald's, that was a privilege, man. Like when your mother was like, "Hey, we're going to McDonald's." Man, you jumped out of your shoes and socks, yo. That was just like, yo, you doing what? So it was just like that. That was a good time because even when we were eating at, you know, Wendy's and Subway, even when Subway was just starting to come out, and Taco Bell and all those places, man, the food wasn't tampered with. So what it was doing to our body was doing nothing. You know what I'm saying? Drinking sodas and all that. But now, being so removed, like, from that time of eating to now, I think that's the most difficult thing that I see in the present time opposed to our era, is that you can visibly see what the food is doing to individuals, whether it's children, whether it's girls, boys, everybody's super tall. You know what I'm saying? They have ailments. Women, you know, young girls are looking like they about 30 years old. You know what I'm saying? All these diseases popping out of nowhere, estrogen in the food, you know, low testosterone and all this stuff. We wasn't even thinking about that, man. We wasn't even thinking about that. And we didn't have to think about that because they wasn't that far advanced to be even thinking about, you know, plant-based foods and stuff like that. So I'm glad, if I had to have a distinct difference of I'm so glad that I got a chance to eat those foods before they put their grimy hands and start tampering with the food. I'm glad I was able to eat fried chicken back then before they started making the chicken about the size of a couch. I'm glad that I was able to eat all those foods that my mother prepared for me and my brother at the time that, she did it, opposed to now. I'm so glad that now that I understand in 1999 is when I removed myself from all those foods. I'm glad I know now. So I think we had it better completely with food opposed to this nonsense that's going on now. That's real talk.
And when I think about, growing up and everything, it, like you said, it was a privilege to eat out at certain places. But I think about the Sunday dinners, the closeness that it brought, all the families and stuff. Because my mom would make a cake on Sunday dinners, and stuff like that. Do you think people do that now and still get together and have those Sunday dinners and stuff like that?
Absolutely not. I think that if you have a close knit family, you probably do. Being like, I don't think everybody doesn't have time no more.
Yeah.
People's time is limited. I mean, parents are, you got single parent homes, so they're not. I mean, we had single parent homes back then, but it was like, food is less expensive, and now it's like you're having so many things to do. You got to take care of this and take care of that. No, they're not coming together and having these dinners like that. Hell no, because everybody's in different portions of the house. So no, man.
On the phone, on the computer, online.
Yeah.
So that's part of technology too. Now everybody is just so on their devices where they don't take the time out to put them away and, maybe do those Friday night movies or get together or do those Saturday night movies as a family play. And back then, I forgot to mention this board games. We used to get together and play Twister and Monopoly and Candyland and Trouble and, all of that. And back when I was growing up, well, Dre, the Operation, and I used to enjoy watching my mom and all them playing spades. They would have card games and, all of that. It's just, I don't know. I don't see people doing all of that, anymore.
Yeah. It's like now everybody got their head down. Like, I don't know when the last time I went to a club, but I can guarantee you once you walk in there, everybody's like this. Not even paying attention of the experience. Like if you're at a concert, you're supposed to be at the concert enjoying the experience, but everybody's like this.
Right.
They got the phone in front of them doing this and doing that. And I can say this, like, I watch my cousins, some of my cousins, not all of them, growing up, and they had their computers and laptops in their face as when they're babies. Growing up now, you kind of sense like when they're in a social setting, they're socially awkward because they don't know how to deal with that, right? Because they're so into the phone and, they want to be connected this way. But in actuality, you want to be connected and personally as well. So they get a little, well, not they, but some of my cousins, they become socially awkward where they get a little nervous around crowds. I mean, I get it, but the crowd isn't trying to harm you. The crowd is your own family. And they seem awkward, like they don't know what to do and how to, feel in situations like that. So that's one thing I know for a fact, that there's a big difference between now and then. Back then, we didn't have the phone, so we were actually like forced to go out. Not necessarily forced to go outside, but we were forced to get to know people, actually have conversations in person.
Yeah, we was forced to get outside. We was told to go outside, get your ass outside, but you better be inside before those street lights come on. Get your butt outside. So
get out of here. Give me a break.
I was a different type of kid growing up. I was the one that they went to go look for because I would never be home. So because you don't know what's going on when you're sitting in the house. That's how I felt. So in order for me to know what was going on, I'm going outside. Go outside from the sun up, and I'll try to come back before the sun down. But if I don't, then somebody's out to come and find me, and it's usually my dad. So.
Dre, you got anything to add to it?
Okay, Dre froze.
He did freeze.
Well, that's not good.
I know. I know. The next topic we was gonna get into is fashion. Dre, if you can hear us, we talking about fashion. So I know when I was growing up and everything. So in the '80s and stuff, like I said back then, I had a Jerry curl. So back then in the '80s, I had a Jerry curl. You know, back then in the '80s and stuff like that. So that was not fun with the curl juice and all of that and everything, and dripping all over the pillowcase and everything. So that was part of the fashion then for me in the '80s was the Jerry curls. And I was a tomboy, so I would never, dress up and had the little skirts and stuff like everybody else and everything. So I always had like the baggy, like little baggy pants and all of that and shirts and stuff like that. So I know for me, for the '80s and stuff, and then back then I used to wear the big hoop earrings. Of course, I couldn't wear stuff like that because I'm still a child, but I started wearing that stuff in the '90s and everything. So, and then as far as the 90s, because I know you from the '90s eras back then, man, it was the Jordans back then, Nikes, Reeboks, the Coogee sweaters, FUBU starters, Converse, Tim's, Guess, Juicy Couture, Cross Colors back then, Lugs and stuff. So what about you for the '90s and stuff?
Did y'all notice that I was gone?
Yeah, we kept talking. We talking about fashion now.
Okay.
So I'm asking E about what he thought about. I know he's from like the '90s era when it comes to fashion and stuff.
Okay, the '90s era of fashion.
For myself, we were beyond the Jerry curls, so ours were like the afros and braids. Yeah, I mean, I didn't have an afro because my mom didn't want it. So my brother and I, we kept our hair like Caesar. We had waves when I had hair. Like we really had good hair. Like my brother now has good hair where mine is gone. But as far as like fashion, we had big oversized clothes, man. It was always the big shirts, the big pants. Of course, we had FUBU. We had the big starter jackets, the bubble jackets, Tommy Hilfiger. Polo was big back then. Of course, Guess jeans. I know for the girls, they had Baby Fat, Apple Bottom. When they started having those name brands for black people, for us. What else? Of course, Jordans. Air Force Ones were always around, but when Nelly did that song, we had it. It's kind of funny because I had somebody tell me about myself, about how I dress now. So I kind of had to change my style because I was still dressing like I was still in the '90s, with the over baggy clothes and stuff. So now it's not tight, but it's fitted. Now I'm just wearing more things that are more fitted, that looks nice on me, not look like I'm wearing my sister's jeans. So
I changed with the times. I mean, I remember, like I was saying as a kid, I think I was telling you guys before we started recording this, my mother and grandmother, bought me and my brother what we wanted. Like I had the members only coat. I don't know if you remember this, Stacks, parachute pants.
Yes. We talking about MC Hammer pants?
No. They parachute pants. Hell no. Nah, the parachute pants they was made out of the material of the parachutes, the real parachutes.
Like the windbreakers?
Yeah, and they had zippers on the pockets, man. Yeah. It was like, it was crazy. And my grandmother bought me my first Guess jacket. My mother bought me my first pair of Jordache jeans. Jordache jeans, man. If you didn't have a pair of Jordache jeans, you wasn't doing it. You know what I'm saying? Those were that was what it is. Jordache, Sassoon, and the women had to have on Gloria Vanderbilts. You know what I'm saying? Those jeans, those type of jeans. That was and that's when lacrosse first came out. You know, with the alligator on the shirt. That's when that started coming. I remember when Jordans. I was in the seventh grade when Jordan first came out with the Jordan ones. Them joints was like $125 or something like that. That was insane. You know what I'm saying? So I watched that, and each time the fashion came, I rolled with the fashion. Even with the in the early 2000s, where you know the what was it with the Sean John and the and the velvet sweatsuits. I changed with the times. I never stayed in one place. Whatever I see is rolling to or get ahead of the game, I roll with it, man. I never was stuck in a place where I feel like I'm gonna rock this forever. No way. Doing that.
I wouldn't say I was rocking them forever. It's just that, you know, I needed somebody. I needed some outside forces to tell me that I needed to update. I guess the people that I was dealing with didn't really consider my fashion sense.
Yeah. Yeah, it was all good, man. I mean, but I look back now. Key, go ahead. Key, can you hear me? Oh my God.
Yes, I can hear you.
Go ahead. What do you think about fashion? What was your fashion sense like? What did you think about fashion then and fashion now?
Well, fashion when I was growing up was mostly knickerbockers, or they call them booty shorts. That's what, you know, they said. But I like the fact that back in the days it was more of a cover up. Like you would wear these long, big oversized jackets or long, big oversized sweaters, like how I see in movies. So I like the way they dress opposed to what we used to see people dress as.
So, I mean, fashion has changed tremendously.
Yeah,
I think the
Reeboks thing.
Yeah, it's always where it was. Like the fitted suits now, the fitted clothes, that they were doing that. You look back at times where Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, they had fitted suits. The suits were fitted, clothes were fitted, clothes was tight. There was no big clothes. If you go back to when my mother and my father they were wearing fitted clothes. So I think fashion always go back to where it was. I hope to God, I see it's coming out again. I hope to God that big shit never come back, because I'm seeing people wearing big shit now. I can't get back with the big shit. I can't do the big shit no more. I mean, I just can't. I can't go back to the big shit no more. I can't.
It's so heavy, man.
I can't. I can't do the big shit no more. So, Stacks, where we at, man? We at the end of our program. What we
are at the end. We at the end. We covered everything. So yeah, we are at the end. Unless you got anything else that you can remember to chime in, but we are at the end of it.
I think me personally, and it's not because I'm from that era. I just think that we have more things to look forward to. I think the downsides is that technology. When I cut out the technology itself, let me just say this: the technology itself has made people impersonable. They have made people not have personalities. They made people not to be sociable. So I think that besides technology at its highest. Really, Stacks, E and Key. I think the era I grew up in, I think we got this down, man. I just really think that we grew up in the way that we grew up that was catering to us to help us grow, and we seen things come up, and that was the best time, man. This time now, I'm not so sure. I'm not. That's my opinion. So I think we won that.
Yep, I agree. I'm all for 80s and 90s all day long. So, so I agree.
Key, anything you want to say out? If you unfroze for at least 10, 20 seconds, anything you want to leave us with a comment with about anything or what you want the people to know? I guess not. You back, Key?
Well, I want to very much say thank you. Did I unfreeze?
Yeah, you didn't have
I
some
want to
black
say thank
technical
you for having
difficulties.
me on your show.
Thanks
Not
for
the
coming
black
on.
technical difficulty. Oh, thank you for having me.
Well, we glad you was there for
Oh,
about
thank
15
you.
minutes of the show.
Yes, yes.
So I'm glad that I finally got.
Oh, thank you.
I'm glad. How you gonna have a delay and you live in the same area we live? We live in Florida. You got a delay like you living in Australia or something. Like, I'm glad that my man E was able to come on because we was trying to find a way for him to get on that he was comfortable with. I'm glad to see he was able to express himself. This is a good friend of mine, and I'm glad Key is like a little sister to me. I'm glad she was able to come on for the duration of the time that she was able to. And Stacks, man, I'm glad you are back. I'm
Thank
glad you're
you.
back.
Thank you. And thanks for holding down. Like I said, thank you. So I appreciate you.
Yeah, so anything you want to say, we got to go out with our sponsors, man. We got to go back out with our sponsors, and that duty is not up to me. It is on Stacks Zizzo.
It is, but I was going to ask E, because we didn't ask him, E, what was your best? What you think? 80s, 90s, 2000s? What you want to lead with?
90s all day, every day. I just think, me personally, this is good because we were able to connect, but we're connecting too much. So we just got to put this down and live our life like how we lived in the 90s, and things will be a lot better and people will feel a lot better.
Right.
I love that you can connect, but again, if you have an opportunity, put it down. It's not the end all be all, and trust me, life goes on when that phone goes down.
That is
Exactly.
the truth. That is the truth.
Exactly. All right.
Key said,
well, thanks.
well, hold on, let me get, well, I'm sorry, Stacks. Key, she
No, go
texted
ahead.
me because she having some technical difficulties. So she said the 80s
Okay.
were the best year, and she said she tell everybody that she's honored to be on. She was so honored to be on, and thanks to everybody for having, being able to be in this platform and be able to speak what she can speak during the time on this podcast. So
Yeah,
Stacks,
thank you guys for coming on. So I'm going to end it with our sponsors once again. And thank you guys for coming on. And thanks for welcoming me back. And no, me and Dre didn't have no falling out or nothing like that. So y'all can shut that right on down. But anyway, so our sponsors are Transition Fitness, 1150, Body Embrace LLC, Pastrino Delights, Back Wall Street Online, and Davis Deliveries. And you can catch me on Instagram at Body Embrace _LLC. You can also, Body _Embrace LLC. See, it's been a long time. So, and then you also can catch me under at T Elaine 1, and also on Facebook at Coach T Wagner. And my website right now is down for my business because I'm also a fitness instructor and weight management coach, and I also sell women athletic wear. Right now, that's down until I get everything up and running here in my new state. So, and also, Dre, where can I catch you at?
You can catch me on Instagram at positive1150. You can catch me on TikTok at fitness1150. You can catch me on Facebook at Dre Morset. And within, by the end of the year, you will be able to catch me at a city near you promoting motivational speaking for not college students, but barber students, because a lot of barber students are coming out of barber college and they don't know what the hell they're doing. And they're not being taught the correct curriculum. They're not being given enough information to be able to sufficiently get out of school, pass their final exam, and be productive in the barber world. So that's going to be a big thing, to have different arenas that I will be in and speaking to these young cats or older cats and being able to give them the game that I know of from the time that I've been in the barber industry for it's been over 20 years. So you should see me doing that, and I'm going to make sure that I always mention, our platform so we can continue to grow as people and continue to elevate and open doors for all of us. So that is me. That is me. Key, you want to say anything? You got all this stuff going on before we get out of here. We got to get out of here. Anything you want to say real quick?
guys. Thank you so much. You guys are the best. This is very inspirational, and I'm glad to be a part of it today. And I always watch you guys. Well, the first 3 ones, because he ain't sent me the other ones. But I did watch it, and I just love it.
Wow.
And to be actually sitting here. Yes, to actually be sitting here. Oh my gosh, I feel famous.
Yeah. And this is the same person that didn't know Queen Latifah rap. So don't you ever tell nobody no shit like that. Don't you ever tell nobody you know Queen Latifah was a rapper.
I'm gonna look it up. I believe
Yes.
you. You never lied to me before, and you always been positive, and you showed me everything I knew to mature. So I believe you. I just gotta hear it for myself.
Wow.
That's what I need to do.
Yeah. Anything you want to say before you get out of here real quick, man?
First and foremost, thank you for having me. You've been telling me about this for a while, and I've been saying, hey, I'm available to have me on. Whenever you guys need another person, just let me know. I'm able to, if I'm able to get on, I'm able to express my opinions. And I like what you guys are doing, and I hope that you guys continue, and hope this thing becomes bigger than what it is right now.
Thank you.
Appreciate you, E. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
And Stacks is another episode in the rap. What'd you say?
That's what I heard. You heard that too? Come on, her mouth.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on your end. Live from Australia. We on our way out. Stacks, take us out of here. We out of here. This is the episode of the
All
rap.
right.
This is number 10.
Number 10. And if you want to come on, DM me or Dre. We'll like to have you guys on. Peace.
And stop being scared to come on and have a conversation,
scared.
man.
Yeah, my people scared, y'all. So, but yeah.
It ain't like y'all live in front of 1 million people. Man, stop this nonsense. Come on this podcast and let's get this conversation chopped up and going. For real.
Exactly.
We out. We out, Stacks. We out.
Have
We
good
out.
Wi-Fi.
And if you don't, so we out.
Bye.
Bye.
See you guys.